One of the most important tips I can give a person who's trying to recover from an eating disorder is this. You need to know your triggers. What do I mean by that? When I was coming out of my chronic dieting, which lasted for almost a decade, all of my disordered eating together, I remember that I felt ready. I was ready to go. I told my counselor, I'm ready to be free from this. And she said, okay, now that you're feeling stronger, now that we've dealt with some of the heart issues behind what you're doing, you need to be aware of what really triggers you in this behavior. And so at that time in my recovery, I remember that I began making a list of the things that triggered me. And I've actually listed several of them in my book, Life Inside the Thin Cage. And I'll read just a couple of them to you here. One of them for me was fashion magazines. I remember that I used to look to fashion magazines for incentive to get thinner. So there was a period of time where I had to stop looking at fashion magazines. Now it's not an issue for me, so it's not all or nothing. There was just a period of time I had to back away from that. Here's a trigger that affects most every woman and probably a lot of guys, and that's bathing suit shopping. You know, most people start getting on diets in January to prepare for bathing suit shopping. And it can be really awkward to get in that dressing room and the lighting is funky and you can see every little dimple and bump and all these kinds of things, and it's really can cause a lot of obsession. And so if you know that bathing suit shopping is triggering for you, then plan ahead for some things that you can do. Either, well, you can't go without wearing a bathing suit, but maybe there's some ways you can minimize the stress of it. Bring a friend with you. Maybe you guys can joke about how silly it is that we think our bodies should look perfect when they're barely covered at all. There's just different things like that. So you want to make a list of your triggers. Could be things like family. They can be a big trigger. Holidays are a big trigger for a lot of people because you mix together lots of food and activity and family. It could be school and pressures. It could be any number of things. You want to make a list of the things that trigger you, write them down on paper, and then get together with a counselor or someone that you trust, come up with strategies for combating those triggers.